The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
This is Adam Evans, the vocalist for Abstract Manor. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today is an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Adam Evans. He's the vocalist of Abstract Manor. Abstract Manor hails from Raleigh, North Carolina. They have a new video and single entitled Predator out now. They have a full-length album will be released sometime in 2019, hopefully, but we'll get into all of that. So, Adam, first off, man, happy early Halloween to you guys.
My favorite time of the year.
Yes.
I thank you. We're big Halloween fans. It's I just always love this season. The weather's changing. It's kind of witchy out there. So we love this time of year. Myself in particular.
Let's get into that for a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of Halloween stuff. So what's your favorite part of Halloween? Do you got any favorite horror movies you like to watch? Are there any horror movies that's out right now you want to see?
I want to see the new Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis that they kind of did the reboot with Michael Myers, because as a kid, that Michael Myers character absolutely terrified me. And so there's something about the music, the musical score for that movie was just, they had a great way of building this, dread, who was the next victim. So, Michael Myers is a spooky dude. So I'm looking forward to catching that one. That's on the list probably this weekend, I think.
I don't know if you've got into anything on this new movie, but they're saying that forget about all the rest of the movies after Halloween and focus on this one, because the rest of them is pretty much obsolete to this one right now. And I was thinking, wow, that's crazy.
Wow. Well, there's been a lot of different, there was the Halloween 1 and 2 where you had the Michael Myers, kind of the continuation of the night there way back in, I think that came out in like 78 or something. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then they came out with, like Rob Zombie kind of did his take on it, which was, typical Rob Zombie, fashion, where it's got another weird twist. And he's an interesting character, that one. And then, with this one coming out, they're kind of going back and, with Jamie Lee Curtis, being kind of on this mission, I guess, to take out Michael Myers. So we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, and the odd part, too, I'm hearing that they're not trying to link her and Michael as brother and sister, which is the odd part.
Right. Yeah, I saw that, too, on the trailer. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they do. Supposedly, I'm hearing that there's going to be a part 2 of this, but I mean, how many more Michael Myers do we need? Which I love Halloween. That's my favorite one. I don't want to see him in a wheelchair running around with a knife. So.
Oh, this guy, I mean, he, it's like Jason and those other characters that they just don't seem to die.
Now soon he'll be in like a, nursing home, running down the hallway in a wheelchair, trying to put something in people's drinks and killing them or something.
Damn it, have we not figured it out? Who's doing all this? He keeps escaping. He keeps escaping from these places where he's locked away, Somebody wants to keep studying this guy for whatever reason.
So let's jump into Abstract Manor here. So what's impressed you the most about, if you guys are working on the new album, is there anything that's caught your eye about it so far that's impressed you about it?
This band has an interesting work ethic. We have like surges of activity, and then it's like the dust settles and it gets kind of quiet, and then we surge and kind of attack. And I feel like that's what's coming next. 3 songs left. That there's one song in particular that I'm really excited about, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet on that. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to put this thing together, because everything so thus far, the way that we work together and the way that it is produced, it just seems to flow correctly, that we all go, yep, that's it. So there's not any one particular piece of music, but because I feel like this album flows together as it has I think one thing that John Barrier, our producer / drummer, has said is there's a common thread that flows through the music in this album. Each song kind of feels like it sort of segues, and whether that's by design or whether that just happens, I'll take either or, because some of this music's been around for a while and is just now starting to get the light of day, so to speak. So, but nothing in particular as far as any one piece of music, except for this one inspired piece of work that has kind of come through for me, that I'm hoping that we can kind of capture the essence of as a band, and I believe we will, because we've always been able to accomplish that. And once everybody gets behind it and starts working, it just seems to fall into place.
So how long have you guys been setting on these songs?
Well, some of this music there's a few pieces of music that, one song is probably from 8-9 years ago that Dave and I had been working on in a different project, and then it kind of got shelved, and then he and I came back around and started playing together probably, I don't know, I guess maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so what you're hearing now is some stuff that's a little bit, or that you will be hearing, I should say. Predator is a fairly new song. That was written a couple of years ago, but that was also one of those kind of pieces of work that just kind of happened, and had an idea. We came into the studio with it, and I think that song was pretty much hammered out in a couple of weeks, honestly. I wish they all went like that, but it doesn't always go that way. And one thing we've learned is not to force. You just can't force music.
Exactly.
It has to kind of happen. So if it's worth doing, it's worth waiting a little bit longer to achieve what you're trying to achieve. But I'm super excited to hammer out these last 3 pieces of music, so that we can, we sat down as a band last night and covered some ground, and I'm just excited to hammer this music out so we can step back from it and go, here it is, and everybody can look at each other and say, we did this, because as if you're talking to a lot of musicians, and everybody can relate to this, that there's this such thing as real life that you have to deal with, and sometimes the writing process or the studio process gets put on hold because there's other things that have to be attended to, and it's always in the back of your mind, because when you start a project, you want to complete it, and so we're at that point where we're just itching to complete this, so we can step back and try to enjoy that, kind of hitting. You're always looking for a creative pinnacle to kind of hit, and that's where I feel like that we'll end up as a band, to be able to step back and go, there it is, guys, what's next? So we're hoping that 2019 is going to be a big year for us as a band.
So do you guys still see yourselves pushing outside that box to still try to find Abstract Manor's sound or newer sound, or add some, spark to it?
Sure, yeah. One thing that I think that you'll find as you dig into this album when it's released, and some of our other work is out there, but I think that people will find that, like, if you take a song like Predator that's got kind of a dark, spin to it, there's other songs that are a little bit brighter. I always try to, from a lyrical standpoint, try to leave a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel in writing. So I kind of like to go on rides, but I always try to leave a little light at the end of the tunnel, so to kind of have a positive upswing in my music. Doesn't always get accomplished, I think, but because I love to write in minor keys, but all these songs have their own different signature, and I think that's what makes this band sort of unique, because everybody has different ideas and different approaches to the songwriting process, and we all kind of come together on that. And so that's the beautiful thing about a band project, is you just never know when you bring an idea in where it's going to go, and you have to be okay with a song kind of getting ripped apart and put back together, because as long as the basic elements are there, then just kind of it'll take some form of its original shape, basically. So, but yeah, that's the fun part, and that's the challenging part. That's why we do it. It's that whole thing. I guess if it was easy, everybody would do it. It can be very frustrating, but at the same time, it's very gratifying when you get to see these products kind of take that shape that at least what you hoped it would come out as. And usually it's always better than the way that I envisioned how it would turn out, because I'm just one guy that's part of the process.
How much of a confidence boost is it for you guys to see your music being put out there, and plus the folks reacting to it, liking it, getting emails on this, and plus getting requests for interviews? I mean, that has to be a huge boost of confidence.
We've been able to talk to a lot of different people through Rock Rage, and we did on a short mini tour kind of out west. Went to Rocklahoma, went to Metal in the Mountains, played some venues out there, and that was in Metal in the Mountains was West Virginia, and then Rocklahoma, of course, in Oklahoma. Which, what an event! It's nuts out there. I mean, it is a real live spectacle. I mean, I think it's like 100,000 people out there that show up for this. But a lot of fun. We played the Dark Side stage out there, which was really cool. That was just what a great time. But we get to talk to a lot of people, and it does help your confidence, because you feel like people are actually grabbing onto it and it's going somewhere. We've been hearing that we're spinning in the UK, we're spinning in Australia, so I think we made it to Germany, I think we've made it to Russia. So it's out there, and to be honest, I mean, these are things that you dream about, when you're a kid, that, man, maybe someday, somebody says, hey, you guys want to tour the UK, or you want to come to Australia, or one of these. There's always that kind of romantic notion or whatever of going somewhere else besides your own country and playing music. And, and as you know, often enough, I mean, overseas, they embrace music a little bit differently. And a lot of times, especially like when it comes to some of the heavier stuff. So, whereas sometimes it seems, I think in the States, that the market, there's a lot of bands out there trying to become known, and you have to put your best foot forward every time you get a chance. And so we love talking to people about their music and trying to share it however we can, because it means a lot to us, and it's a wonderful thing. It shows, and just people coming up and that have driven for a couple 2-3 hours to come and hear us play, and so those types of things are, just trying to be gracious as we can with the fans of the music and the people who take the time to want to talk with us, because your time's important, our time's important, and so it means a great deal to us.
I want to get back to this album that you guys are going to be letting out in 2019. Who is going to be producing this? Let's talk about that a little bit. Have you already got a producer that's going to be working on this, or what?
Yeah, John Barrier with Black Plate Studios is producing the album, and that's definitely where that's going to be. I mean, this album will be fully mixed, mastered, everything right there. And so the stuff that you hear right now, that's where that came from. Predator came from there. Everything that's out there for consumption right now came from Black Plate. And it doesn't hurt that he just also happens to be a pretty damn good drummer, too. But the guys, everybody wears a lot of different hats, in this band. I mean, there's some multi-talented dudes, in this project. And so it helps streamline a lot of stuff where we could get hung up at, I think.
And that's the cool thing about, if you got somebody in your band like that, that's a producer that can do stuff for you guys. That's a chunk of money to be saved, to be honest with you.
It is, and we also have to, there is that, and then he has to balance his equation of, he's got to make money with his clients too, and it's difficult being that guy who, you're in a working band and writing music, and, you're on the production side of things. It almost has to have two personalities. He almost has to have two personalities to do these, the work that he's doing with us. So, we always appreciate the time that we get to put in there, because it's a very unique situation, but we're lucky that we have that.
What do you hope the folks take away from Abstract Manner's music, or message you hope they hear when they just listen to any of your all songs?
I think that Abstract Manner is as a collective, as a band, there's some, there's a lot of strong personalities in this band. And so, which, that's a lot of times that's probably with any, especially in rock music, but I think people take away from it, at least what they tell me, is that there's a real raw power and there's a real raw passion that comes through in the music. And a lot of times that word gets thrown around, everybody, likes to say that they're passionate about this or passionate about that or whatever. But, the tones in your voice, the tones in the guitars, just the feel of the music, it seems to create a kind of a throwback feeling for people, which I'm glad about that, because I cut my teeth on, old school, rock and roll, Zeppelin, Sabbath, I mean, you can just go on and on, but I mean, the big two for me, of course, from, way back would be Zeppelin and Sabbath. I feel like we're kind of, you wouldn't call it Zeppelin, we definitely wouldn't call it Sabbath, but it has some of those elements in it. And, going into, Priest, Dio, I mean, some of these are just some of my favorite, vocalists. And so that stuff kind of trickles in when you listen to it. And, because that's all we're doing really is standing on the shoulders of these artists who've gone before us. And so they inspire, us to, write and play in certain ways. And it just kind of, I feel like that kind of comes out. But that raw power feeling that rock music, I feel like it's supposed to give you, I feel like we're able to do that. I hear people say that. And so, and if they feel it, that's what matters the most to me, because that's how we feel when we play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best drug out there. It actually, when I listen to music, man, sometimes it gives me goosebumps, and people can laugh and say what they want, but I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. When you get that feeling, you're hearing what the guys are putting out there.
Exactly.
How much growth musically have you seen this band and including yourself go through? Or has it just been more of a personal growth for all of you guys involved with this band?
I think, the band as an entity is not bad. And, you have to go through that first kind of initial honeymoon phase, basically, of, hey, man, we're going to do this. We're a band. And then, the typical things that always happen when you put a bunch of strong old guys together, you're going to butt heads about stuff. That's just normal. I think it's how you deal with those issues that arise, creative issues, and I mean, those things will force you to grow. And if you're not ready for that, then you'll jump ship. And so these are all seasoned guys who played bands, and I think coming together under the same banner of Abstract has really challenged all of us. Certainly, I've seen for myself a lot of personal growth as a writer, looking at things from a little different perspective, because I've written a lot of music that's never seen the light of day. It's stuff that, maybe someday there's a solo project or something out there, but right now my focus is here. But you kind of tend to write more with your band in mind, because you want your guys to kind of dig into it. And I think that for me, having not been in a band for a little while, I mean, I had not been really collaborating with anybody. And then Dave and I kind of got back together a few years ago, and then we had played in a project way back, almost a decade ago. So it's an ongoing process. But yeah, it definitely forces you to grow. And I think it's all positive, because it just makes you better. And, even on stage, I've even had people tell me recently that, hey, you look more comfortable, on stage. Well, then that means you're really, you're in it. And that's the way to deliver music to me, is if you're comfortable on stage, you feel good, and You know, it's kind of like putting on, you know, your fuzzy slippers or whatever and walking around on a Sunday morning. That's, you know, that's how I like to feel on stage, because that's when I know that I'm going to give my best performances. And you kind of absorb the energy, you know, from the people. And, you know, our local support has just been, you know, wonderful in Raleigh. And so we're very fortunate there. We've kind of been able to, you know, establish a brand, establish a name, and people now know who we are, which is cool. You always, you know, bands come and go, and so, you know, you want to be able to roll with the changes, and I think that we're accomplishing that.
When you go into the recording studio, do you do anything differently during that writing and recording process to maybe help keep your mind fresh and open to new stuff, to not let the music get stale or anything?
Well, one thing that I've always tried to do in the studio process is to be flexible, because you may have an idea of how something's supposed to go, and then somebody does you know, well, how about let's play a D here, or, you know, and something gets changed, and it may make your melody adjust a little bit, or your phrasing changes a little bit. But I've found that, you know, that's the time that you have to be the most flexible, is in the recording process, because sometimes you will get something in a studio session that you did not see coming. You know, like, for example, a lot of times, you know, if I'm in the vocal booth, John will say, "Hey, Adam, you know, try this here." And it could be some, you know, delivery that I hadn't even thought of. And we'll do it, and, you know, it works. And so that kind of stuff, I love that, because the moments that you capture in the recording process are sometimes stuff that you would have never even dreamed, when, you know, the skeleton of the song was kind of being put together, how that was going to go. And you had an idea how it would go, but then, you know, all of a sudden, instead of, you know, rolling a note this way, you roll it a little bit differently, and it sounds better, you know. And so you always go, one of our mottos is the song is king. And if the song sounds better that way, then that's what we do.
What can fans expect at a show from Abstract Manor who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
Lots of energy, lots of spirit. You know, we all kind of turn into focused madmen on stage. And it's just, you know, it's funny. I thought about this the other day. It's like, we played a show, let's see, it was last Friday. It was Friday, yeah, last week. And I just remember going through this set, and I don't think I ever even looked at any of the guys on stage, because I know that they're hitting their marks. I know, of course, I tried to, I don't know, for the first time, I messed up some of my own lyrics. That was weird. So I do remember Dave looking at me like, "No, not here." Oh yeah, that's right. You know, but I just remember being so hyper focused with the guys on stage, and that is something that is when you're kind of just in this, you're all in, so to speak, and so everybody does their job. We just try to bring it every time that we get up there, because that's another opportunity for us to launch our music out there. And, you know, to see people's faces and see people singing along, you know, it's the connection with the audience is one of the most amazing things that it's just, there's a certain magic, I think, that happens between musicians and an audience when you kind of pull them in. And, you know, because people can walk away, you know, they can go smoke or whatever. And one of the things I always appreciate is I feel like that when we get on stage and we take off, you know, we grab them from the beginning, and we keep them until the last note. And that's my goal. That's why I'm up there. And so I'm always going for it. And the guys in the band are 110%. And so if you want to come to a real rock show that, you know, makes you want to, you know, charge hell with a water pistol, but also makes you want to, you know, go home and, you know, curl up with your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, come to an Abstract show. You'll dig it. It's a lot of fun.
Do you like the digital era of recording albums to get music out quicker, and plus social media now to to reach out to more fans to help an up-and-coming band to get your all's music out to more folks, possibly?
The process is certainly faster. I love the whole idea of the album. You know, I've had people in the industry say to me, "Nah, just do singles. You know, nobody cares about albums anymore." I don't subscribe to that thinking. I still love albums, and I love the fact that vinyls come back. I really hope that we can do a limited run of, you know, vinyl albums, you know, when ours drops, because I just think that's a priceless piece of history. And so I'm still a little bit old school kind of in my thinking there. Digital is great because it literally is like, I mean, the way that these guys mix stuff, and just watching these guys that work in the studio, you know, that's why there is a production dude, like that's what he does, and it's Greek to me. I mean, you know, I know how to, you know, write and arrange, and to some degree, but man, I mean, the way that music gets cranked out now, it's amazing to see how these guys read the waveforms and, you know, this stuff. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at. You know, it's an amazing process, but it does work. I think. I just feel like there's so much out there now that I think people move past music maybe a little faster than they used to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Because there's so much to consume.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, yeah, I like this band. You know, it's like, well, tell me another song from them. And they know like one song, you know, from the band.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, that's cool. You know, I mean, at least like one song. You know, I just, I've always been like a B-side guy, you know, like digging up, you know, stuff from old bands and going, oh man, you know, check this out. You know, this is stuff that you would have never heard if you didn't dig for it. And there's always some cool treasures, you know, from back in the day. And I don't even know if you know, do you even get access to that, because, you know, stuff's not pressed out like it used to be in the digital age. It's like here today, gone tomorrow. It kind of seems to me.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, when Metallica's Black Album came out, everybody's like, "Oh man, this is a great band. This is their first album," and I'm like, "No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
That's not their first
exactly.
album. Have you not like researched this band? Because one was the only one that came off of Injustice for All that actually hit MTV, that actually got a lot of stuff out there for them. However,
yeah,
when the Black Album came out, that skyrocketed Metallica, and that's why they got more coverage. So I'm like, go back and look, because they had like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning. They had that stuff out before the Black Album.
There was at least 2 albums before the Black Album, I believe.
Yeah, well, see, they had Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. So yeah, you had 2. You had 2 albums before the Black Album.
Yeah, and but for whatever reason, boy, people grabbed onto that Black Album. It was just, that was the one that I had a friend of mine the other day telling me about that. He was talking about how his younger brother and his friend were listening to Soundgarden back in the 90s, and he was still listening to the Black Album, you know, from Metallica. And they were like, "Man, you gotta check this out." He's like, you know, because he was still into Metallica. He was like, I was still stuck in the 80s, you know, still listening to Dio and Priest, and, you know, and now I'd gotten into Metallica, and people had already moved on to, you know, grunge, you know, basically. And, Soundgarden to me is not grunge, but,
yeah,
they call it that.
Exactly.
But,
I feel the same way. But there were 4 there were 4 albums out of Metallica before the Black Album, because you had Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and 3. Why am I saying 4? There should be 3. Kill 'Em All. And I know Metallica like crazy. Oh my God! See, now my mind went blank. Thanks, man.
See, I infected you with my forget device. See.
I'm kicking myself in the ass here. Kill 'Em All.
Listen. I am too.
We'll go with 3.
I'm in the same boat.
Trust me, folks. I know my Metallica stuff. I know. It's just you put yourselves on the spot here and see what happens. Now.
That's what it was. I was testing your musical history. I'm no help, because I know Metallica, but I'm not a huge Metallica buff, so I really don't know.
I love how a lot of these folks say, I know a lot of music, blah, 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 and you talk to them, and you're like, well, what about this band? And all you see them smiling, it's like deer in headlights. It's like, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, see, I put you on the spot. I know.
Yes. There's, and like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of music out there
Oh, my
nowadays.
God, they are. Yes. You can listen to one band, and then 10 minutes later, you've got another band sounds exactly like that band.
Yep. And, that is one thing we as a band have really striven hard for is to, I always have wanted to, and I don't know that we'll accomplish this, but I feel like, like if I step back from it, you want to write something that's going to stick, okay, well, on this day in 2019, this, album was created, and, people go, that's some cool stuff, I'm into that. And I just want to write something that maybe someday people call it a classic. I hope so. That's my intention. I don't know that it'll happen, but that is my intention with it, because, what else do we have as artists but to try to write something that kind of sticks in the consciousness and people go, that? How many times as an artist do you get to hear that song meant this to me, or that song stuck with me? Yeah. And so that's what we hope to do, because of the market. There's a lot of talented people out there, and there's also a lot of people maybe not so much, but everybody has a voice, and there's a lot of material out there to sift through. So the field's wide open. There's every kind of genre, every kind of everybody tries to kind of box us into some sort of genre or whatever. I like the fact that the metal community kind of digs into us a little bit with a song like Predator, because some of those. Some of the, it's the song's in drop C, so it's pretty heavy. But, and some of the stuff vocally that I get to do in that song, it just kind of, it's kind of laid out a nice template for me to be able to really just rip into some stuff on that song. And so, I like the fact that the metal community kind of digs out too, because if you listen to some of our other stuff, it's not that heavy. And so I like the fact that we're able to kind of bounce around and we can entertain different feelings, different genres, so to speak, and still be the same band. And instead of every song has to sound like this, or, oh, well, that's not metal enough for me. Well, that's cool. Somebody else hopefully will, I like the idea of a true rock band that says, we'll just kind of do what we want. And so that's the stamp that I would like to, be able to leave and say, here's a band that just kind of took off and went in any direction that they felt like, because, you can get the message across this way.
All right, folks, it's Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets. It's Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Masters of Puppets, and Justice for All, and then you had the Black Album. Told you, I am not going to.
The whole time I was sitting there babbling on about, this, all my creative wants and dreams and wishes. Meanwhile, John's over there. Click, clickety, click. Google, help me. No. Like, yeah. Take a sip of your drink. Yeah. What did you say? I'm gonna have to. Oh, that's okay. I can listen to this on the playback.
No, they were just eating me alive. I'm like, no, I know all this. I know.
I'm in the same boat. I'm gonna have to rectify my own gas from earlier. We'll get there, I promise.
But you're right though. They are a lot of music out there that you have to shift through, and like I listened to an online radio show not long ago, and there was 3 to 4 bands that sounded kind of like the same. They all sound like Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you push outside that box. Be yourself. Do your own stuff.
Yep. Yes, and unfortunately, there's an old saying, there's nothing new under the sun. And everybody always wants to try to, if you have influences, you're going to grab a sound from some of your influences. What I've always hoped to do is to take all my different influences and distill it into, you might think, that sounds sort of like this band or this singer or whatever, but, you're not trying to shamelessly jack somebody else's music from 20 years ago or 30 years ago. From an artistic standpoint, just trying to creating music's difficult enough as it is. And man, one thing that really irritates me is if I write something that I feel like is, new, cool, or whatever, and then somebody says, that kind of reminds me of a so-and-so song. I'm like, damn it. It's like it makes you just want to, throw your guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're always trying to write something that doesn't remind people of something else. And, but, the thing I've learned too with that in the songwriting process is that sometimes that's not a bad thing, and by the time that you get done with it, it has changed so much that what you thought it sounded like, or it doesn't sound like that anymore because it's been ripped apart and put back together again.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Adam, that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been on stage in some shape or form ever since I was a kid, and started off in theater, and as you know, in theater, I was always doing musical stuff in theater, and always kind of was pushed into school chorus stuff, things, and I guess people knew something about me that I didn't know then. And then as I got older, it was just kind of a natural flow of starting, playing. And man, I played in folk bands, rock bands, you name it. So it kind of, I think it kind of finds you. And I don't know if there was any real moment where I said, this is what I want to do, because it was something that I've always kind of done, but the stakes always seem to get higher. It's like, next thing you know, you're playing with better talent, if you're not just sitting, on your back porch or in your bedroom noodling on a guitar. Next thing you know, you're standing in front of a microphone and there's some people out there that actually seem interested, and hey, there's these other guys that walked up on stage with you and they seem to be down with what's going on, and oh shit, I'm in a rock band, and so it just kind of, there's not ever really been a singular moment that I can recall, but I've never not done music for a long time now. So I don't know what that's like, if that makes sense. When have I not been either preparing for a show or writing something or saying, hey, check this out, in a studio, on a stage, it's just kind of been a lifelong pursuit that, like I said, there are some times when I go, why the hell am I doing this? I think all, performers, artists go through those times. I think that's healthy too, because you immediately go, well, because I love it. I love doing this. And as a band grows, there's some frustrating stuff that, the business side of things that, you like to stay in your little creative bubble all the time, but then there's also bills that have to be paid, and there's stuff that has to be handled. All of the demands of, social media and pushing and trying to, like you said earlier, get your music out there. And I'm lucky because I don't have to do a lot of that stuff. The guys are way more savvy at that stuff than I am. And so, I kind of get a little bit of a pass on that. But I know it's super hard work. And, that it's always nice to be able to stay in the creative bubble. And that's trying to get back to. And we've kind of been out of the bubble a little bit, and it's time to get back. So I go back to my original statement in that it just kind of found me, I feel like, and I've been on the ride ever since.
So this album is slated to come out in 2019. Are you guys going to have an early release, summer release, fall? What do you guys want to do possibly?
I hope early. I know the holidays are coming up, and it's traditionally it's very difficult to get anything done during this time of the year, as you know. Next thing you know, Thanksgiving's here. Next thing you know, it's Christmas. Oh, next thing you know, it's New Year's. And it seems like the time just blows by. But I hope early. That would, at the latest spring is my sincere hope, because there's just a few more things that we've got to do. And, the skeletons of the songs are there, and there's 3 more pieces left. So I'm hoping that we can turn these things into little Frankensteins and give them a kick in the ass and off they go. And I don't remember who said that, but a long time ago, one of my musical heroes, somebody said, that's how music is. It turns into its own little Frankenstein and walks away, and you go, okay, well, cool, and that's a great way to put it, because songs have a life of their own, and I'm excited about this album because I believe that people will. I don't think it's going to be one of those albums that you listen to it and you go, okay, let's skip to the 4th song. Let's skip to the 8th song. I hope that people listen to this album from start to finish, because there is a vibe that will run through this album, I believe, and I think it's going to grab a lot of rock fans that are kind of looking for something that kind of makes them feel like it was, they've gone back in time a little bit, but in the same, with a new, a kind of a new flavor. That's what we're going for anyway.
How can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy this new album when it drops, tour dates, tickets, whenever you guys do that? How can they do that, man?
You can go to abstractmanor.com. You can always follow us on Facebook, Abstract Manor, on Instagram, Twitter, all the social media platforms. Come see us, drop us a line. Right now there's no shows booked. We're looking at festivals for next year, and what lines up best for our schedules, and what lines up best as far as getting us in front of as many faces as we can, and equally as many ears as we can. That is definitely what we are shooting for. Mainly right now, complete this album, and then driving forward, we hope 2019 is going to be a big year for us. I feel like it is. Before
I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure. This is Adam Evans, the vocalist for Abstract Manor. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please go out and subscribe to our Facebook page, BODS Mayhem Hour, of course, and plus we have our YouTube channel. We'd like for you guys to go out there and subscribe to that as well, BODS Mayhem Hour. All this stuff is actually on our Facebook page, and I also drop the links in the Facebook page for the YouTube, plus our podcast link as well. So get out and give us a like and follow, and plus do the same for Abstract Manor. Adam, I wish you guys the best of luck, my man.
Thanks a lot, John.